Mr. Shi,
Here.
Mr. Errico,
Here.
Mrs. Ward,
Here.
Mrs. Peng,
Yes.
Mr. Brescher,
Here.
Mrs. Patel,
Here.
Mrs. Conway,
Yes.
Dr. Chen.
Here.
All present by Mrs. Maroney.
Opening statement, the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Edison Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Board of Education administrative offices. Copies of these notices were sent to the Home News Tribune and the Star Ledger on January 3rd, 2019. The public may participate at regular meetings in accordance with the bylaws and the applicable state regulations.
Just announce it in full session. Either way.
Okay. So today, there's a slight change on the agenda. We need to go to the closed session for real quick, and it will be coming out, probably 15, 20 minutes. There was some development this afternoon. We need to provide all the board members with an update before we go on to the voting. Dan?
Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances present exist, now therefore be resolved by the Board of Education of the Township of Edison as follows. 1, the public shall be excluded from discussion of and action upon the herein specified subject matters. 2, the general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Attorney-client privilege discussion regarding the superintendent's contract. 3, it is anticipated at this time that the above stated subject matter shall be made public at such time as the need for non-disclosure no longer exists. And 4, this resolution shall take effect immediately.
Okay, can I have a motion?
Can I read that? Do you mind?
Sure.
Can I have a motion to go to, yes, Mr. Errico, second, Mrs. Penn.
Dr. Chen,
Yes.
Mrs. Conway,
Yes.
Mrs. Patel,
Yes.
Mr. Brescher,
Yes.
Mrs. Peng,
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Errico,
Yes.
Mr. Shi.
Yes,
All yes.
about 15, 20 minutes, thank you. All right, motion to,
Motion to reconvene?
okay, second? Okay, Mrs. Penn?
Dr. Chen,
Yes.
Mrs. Conway,
Yes.
Mrs. Patel,
Yes.
Mr. Brescher,
Yes.
Mrs. Peng,
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Errico,
Yes.
Mr. Shi.
Yes.
Okay, we're back in open session.
All right, so, yeah, this is probably the first time we said we go to closed session, we came back in time, right? So, first, we have the approval of the October 7th, 15th, and 16th meeting minutes, and the board secretary's report. Can I have a motion on that? Okay, Mr. Errico, Dr. Chen.
Dr. Chen,
Yes.
Mrs. Conway,
I'm sorry, could you repeat it?
we're talking about the minutes for October 7th, 15th, and 16th, and the board secretary's report.
Yes.
Mrs. Patel,
Yes.
Mr. Brescher,
That's the one we agreed on.
Mr. Brescher, minutes and board secretary's report.
Yes.
Mrs. Peng,
Yes.
Mrs. Ward,
Oh, I'm sorry, we're on October
yes.
7, 15,
Yes.
16.
Yes.
No on all three. I was absent.
You abstaining or voting no? Abstain?
I guess I abstained
Abstain?
then, right?
Okay, all right. All right.
Whatever I do.
Okay. Mr. Errico?
Yes on everything except October 16th, I was absent.
All right, you
I
abstain?
abstain.
Abstain on that, okay. And Mr. Shi?
Yes.
So carried.
All right, so before we open up for public comments on the resolutions, the one item on the personnel report, I like to table that, which is on page 16, the stipend for head high school security guards. Number 8, we're trying to table that item. I need a motion for that, right? Can I have a motion for that? Page 8, I'm sorry, page 16, item 8. Okay, Mrs. Penn, do I have a second? You guys on it? Okay, Dr. Chen.
Dr. Chen?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
No to table. That's what we're voting, right?
Mrs. Patel?
Yes.
Mr. Brescher?
Yes.
Mrs. Peng?
Yes.
Mrs. Ward?
No to the table.
I don't understand why we're...
Mr. Derico?
No.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
Okay, we got 5 yeses then. So carries. It's tabled.
Okay. Now we're opening up for public comments. Resolutions only. Anyone?
How far down the list are we going?
Public comment.
Public
This
comments.
is for public.
Personnel and labor relations?
We're talking about public comments.
We're up to public comments on, okay.
Okay, see none, we proceed. First, we're going to vote on the personnel items. Remember that number 8 on page 16 is, tabled, okay? Can I have a motion on the personnel items, personnel resolutions only? Okay, Mr. Derico, do I have a second? Okay, Dr. Chen.
Dr. Chen?
A no to the 3 facility manager transfers, Mr. Nicholas Malley, Mr. William Tanajakas, Mr. Thomas Varga, and everything else, yes.
I didn't,
Mrs. Conway?
Vote no on the transfers of Nicholas Melly, William Tenglefus, and Thomas Varga.
And yes on everything else?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Mr. Patel?
No to the transfer of Nicholas Melly, William Tanjanukas, and Thomas Varga, and yes to everything else.
Mr. Brescher?
No on the same 3 facility managers.
And everything, yes on everything else?
Yes, and
Okay,
everything else.
Thank you. Mrs. Peng?
Yes to everything except transfer for Malley, Tanajakas, and Varga.
Okay. Mrs. Ward? All
no on the same 3 facilities managers, yes on everything else.
right, thank you. Mr. Derico?
Yes on everything except the 3 facilities managers. I vote no on those 3.
Okay. Mr. Shi?
Yes on everything except the 3 facility managers.
Okay, it's unanimous, so the facility manager transfers do not carry, everything else does.
All right, so we'll move on to administration, including the approval of the superintendent contract, approval of settlement agreement with EC, the approval of settlement agreement with ETTA, termination of shared service agreement, SLEO services with the township, policies, the new and revised, second reading, the superintendent's merit goals, and on the curriculum instruction, we're approving field trips, professional development. On pupil services, we have out-of-district placement, approval of the establishment of new special educational programs, and on the finance section, we are approving the finance resolution. So everything else in this one approval, okay? Can I have a motion on that? Okay, Mr. Derico, second? Okay? Okay, Mr. Brescher?
Dr. Chen?
Yes.
Mrs. Conway?
No to the approval of the superintendent's contract because I need to abstain because I was excluded from some of the processes.
Okay. Mr. Patel?
I should abstain.
Yes.
Mr. Brescher?
Yes.
Mrs. Peng?
Yes.
Did you say yes?
Did you say yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mrs. Ward?
A no on the superintendent contract, and no on policy number 1632, and that's it. Approve everything else.
All right, thank you. Mr. Derico?
Yes.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
So carried.
All right, so So upcoming meeting dates, which one? Yeah, I forgot this one. December, okay. We have 2 meetings? Oh, yeah, okay, it's 2, okay. Upcoming meetings on December 16th, we have a combined meeting, the caucus and the public meeting. It will be 6 o'clock at the Education Center. It's a combined meeting, so we start early, 6 o'clock. And on January 6th, we have the reorganization meeting, 7 o'clock at the Education Center. Okay? Now we go up to the committee reports. Food Service Committee, Mrs. Conway.
The Food Service Committee meeting was held on Wednesday, November 20th at 5 p.m. In attendance was Ralph Errico, Una Chen, Dan Machad, and myself. There were Chartwell representatives, Jean Santos, Patricia Allegretto, Marcy Blatt Walker, Wendy Cassidy, Felicia Tarantino, Mindy Rep, Carla Hemingway, Al Timmons, Ann Sullivan, and there were also 16 representatives from all the district schools. Initially, Chartwell showed a PowerPoint presentation that illustrated the following: Chartwell's programs for the employees, how we live it, students, how students experience it, and districts, how we talk about it. The introduction of the district's new dietitian, Wendy Cassidy, took place. They devised a discovery kitchen, which invites students to try different foods, one being butternut squash, and I complained that it shouldn't have cinnamon in it. Chartwells will be providing Edison with a mobile kitchen teaching cart, which can be transported between schools. The students would be able to learn and interact with the chef as he or she prepares the meals. Chartwells has implemented Student Choice, which provides the students with several different meal choices, and the students take part in deciding which meal choice will be offered on the next month's menu. They will also be implementing Mood Boost, which is based on the notion that what you eat affects your mood and how you feel. Each week, Chartwells will feature foods that will make the students feel strong, alert, happy, calm, smart, and confident. They also have implemented Food Truck Fridays at JP Stevens, which gives the students quick access to grab-and-go lunches, which includes 3 panini sandwich options, 2 soup options, and a vegetarian option. They are going to provide Food Truck Fridays at Edison High shortly. Chartwells is piloting online ordering at Lincoln School, in which parents, students can order their lunch choice in advance, and then it would be delivered to them the next day. Food Network star Jet Tila will be coming to Edison in April or May of 2020. He will be preparing food and interacting with students at the various schools. The committee was invited to sample a variety of mood boost foods, and the meeting was adjourned at 6:20 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Just have a quick question. At the meeting earlier this year, Chartwell has promised to work with the PTOs to, customize the menus for each of the schools. Have you guys talked about that?
They invited anyone that was there that if they wanted to make suggestions, but it wasn't really formulated the exact meeting dates.
Okay, maybe need to follow up with them.
But that's something our committee could set up later in the school year.
Yeah, because there are each schools have different issues here and there. So when we spoke to them earlier this year, they promised to work with each PTO, so hope that they're going to follow through on that.
I'll look into it.
Thank you. Township Liaison Committee, Mr. Errico.
Thank you, Mr. Shi. We had a meeting on November 14th at 6 p.m. at the Education Center. In attendance was Jerry Shi, Richard Brescher, myself, Ms. Contaldi, and Mr. Machad. Town council members was Mr. Patil and Mr. Sandelsky. All these items that we discussed are being brought up. None of them are final, but they are being worked on as promised. Assessing a fine on parents of illegal students attending Edison schools, adopting an ordinance setting limits on a number of occupants per housing unit in apartment buildings, the method and frequency of the township transfer of local tax levy funds to the Board of Ed, the status of Stelton School building and the possibility of having the Board of Ed reacquire it. Can the township assist the Board of Ed with summer paving projects and also other projects? A township moratorium on residential building development, sidewalk installations on Talmadge Road and Kilmer Road, which would make it much safer for our students to cross. We had extensive conversations on each of these items, and the meeting adjourned at 6:50 p.m.
Okay, I just want to clarify here, the township on the, summer paving road, paving our parking lots is not the township, spending money to pay for it. We just want to be
Use that
part of
favor.
their, bidding process. We're going to put it on, so when the township bids out these roads, they're going to bid our parking lot. We're also part of the bidding process. That's all, but we're going to pay for it. All right, the third is CTC, Mrs. Penn.
Yeah, the CTC had a meeting on November 14th at Ed Center, starting at 12 o'clock. In attendance, Dr. Chen, myself, Ms. Conway, Ms. Pulaski, and Ms. Mahabir. We first went over two special days. One is the Character Days that took place on September 27th. And the other one is the Unplugged Day on October 7th. Unplugged Day is basically our teachers are asked to design lessons so that the students did not use technology for that day. The feedback from students and staff was positive. So we're planning to do another Unplugged Day for late winter, early springtime. Then we discussed about social and emotional learning, SEL. In elementary school, we have Responsive Classroom, which is a student-centered social and emotional learning approach to teaching and discipline. It's comprised of a set of research and evidence-based practice designed to create safe, joyful, and engaging classroom and school community for both students and teachers. So far, 120 teachers and administrators have been trained. In middle school, there's a committee consisting of administrators, school counselors, teachers, and path counselors is developing a plan to implement SEL in the middle school and high school. Also, we had Addison Mindful, which is an in-district resource for students, teachers, and parents focused on mindfulness and stress reduction. Addison Mindful is a separate tab on the district website. It will be updated regularly with input from teachers and staff. This website was designed by Ojas Ray, JPS assistant principal. So thank you, Mr. Ray, for doing that. We also talked about the 7th and 8th grade math. There's a change. We're adding a foundations of algebra, which is going to be offered for the 2021 school year. Also discussed is the dual enrollment. This is a program with Middlesex County College. Basically, high school students are eligible to earn MCC college credit for the following courses: Integrated Math A, Statistic 1, AP Statistics, Pre-Calculus, Calculus 1, AP Calculus BC, Physics, AP Physics, AP Biology, AP Chemistry, AP US Government, Sociology, and Psychology. Each course is only $125. And this college credit can be transferred to all in-state and most of the out-state college and universities. So not only this is going to save students some time in college, and also it's going to save parents a lot of money. So we encourage you, if you're interested, take a look at these opportunities. Also, we're in discussion with Seton Hall universities for dual enrollment contract for 2021. Lastly, we talk about science textbook, which are being piloted in our middle school. So if everything goes well, we're going to be purchasing new textbook for 2021, which I hope, because I heard a lot of concerns about our science program, so I hope this would really make our science programs stronger. We also are piloting science programs in elementary school level, so we're going to continue monitoring that. So that's about it. Meeting adjourned at about 1 o'clock. Thank you.
Just a quick question, 7th and 8th grade math, so we're putting back 3-level math.
Right, yeah. there are concerns that the previous structure is not working very well. Students are having stress, and so we're basically moving it to three-level math.
Okay, so that's
Yes,
great. We're
this-
putting the three levels back. That's fantastic. Okay, so board member comments. Let me just start. Usually when you're a board member, you don't have a lot of, you serve on the board, you don't have a lot of opportunities to, do something like what we did today. You don't have a lot of, you don't change the superintendent very often. And this board is very lucky that we were able to appoint our new superintendent, Dr. Bragan. Dr. Bragan is a local boy. He, went to school here. He taught in the Edison School District, and moved on, and he's back. He's back to his hometown. So, it was my pleasure to welcome Dr. Bragan back into the Edison School District. And I also like to take this opportunity to thank two people. One is Mr. Saxton, and he stepped in. He helped us tremendously. He's instrumental in helping us forming the foundations for the referendum. And the other person that I want to thank is the lady sitting right next to me. Every time we called her, she stepped up and did a fantastic job. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
Now I'd like to introduce Dr. Bragan. I'd like him to come up and say a couple words as the new superintendent of this district. Yeah, you can start.
Thank you, Mr. Shi. Should I face this way?
Yeah, whatever you want.
Feels a little awkward here, but
You can turn around. Take, there you go.
is that okay?
Yes.
Ah, that's better.
Now you're back, Mrs. Conway.
It does feel nice to be back in the JP Auditorium. It's been a few years, but it's nice to come home. First, I want to thank my mom, Nina Berner, who happens to be here today. And she insisted that all of her 5 kids went to college and got a good education so we would amount to something and would be able to feed ourselves. So without her, I wouldn't be here, so thank you so much, Mom. Love you. I'd also like to take a moment to thank the Board of Education for recommending me to become the superintendent of this school district. I know I was one of a number of highly qualified candidates for this position, and I'm grateful that you picked me and humbled to be the person standing before you. I think back to some of the other superintendents that were here before me, some of the venerable leaders that I had the fortune to be in school with and to work under, the Charlie Boyles, the Joe Kreskes, the Vincent Caparos, just to name a few. And it's humbling that I'm in the same position that those gentlemen had. I look forward to continuing to move the district forward, to build upon the excellence and the commitment to continuous improvement for which Edison Township is known. I want to build upon that so that we can ensure that each child achieves his maximum potential and is able to graduate Edison High School or J.P. Stevens with all the options that they would have had they gone to any other school, and the opportunities are endless. One of the things I've learned over time, for an effective school district to operate at its optimal level, you need 2 things. One is a Board of Education that's committed to doing everything in their power for the children of that community to be successful. The second thing is a teaching staff and administrative team that are second to none, of which we have both of those things. I'm so proud and grateful to have the opportunity to lead the Edison Township Public Schools. I look forward to December 9th to beginning what I hope will be a long tenure for me as a superintendent, and continuing to build on all the successes that we've done in Edison, and working with each of you and the entire community to provide a superlative educational program for all the children of Edison Township. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board member comments? Yes. Mr. Brescia.
I'm going to make mine kind of short, but I want to say thank you to the students that made us these gifts here for Thanksgiving. And I really do appreciate it. And I'd like to wish everybody here a happy Thanksgiving, because I guess this is last time before Thanksgiving that we're going to see you all.
Okay. Any other board members? Yes, Mrs. Conway.
First, Dan, I just wanted to let you know we went through finance rather quickly. I needed to abstain on check number 154935.
Okay, I'll put it in the minutes.
Very good, thank you. And I just want to say this morning, I attended the FCCLA Fall Leadership Conference and had the chance to be a judge. And I just want to go over again how fabulous an organization we have, run by one of our own employees as the state advisor. It ran so smoothly and fabulous, and a young lady in the front is an important addition to helping out the organization. And I'd just like to thank in public Mrs. Patricia DeJoy Laird for her continuing support of this program, and all the J.P. Stevens students and Edison High students that attended the program this morning. It was fabulous. We should be proud. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Errico.
Thank you, Mr. Shi. First and foremost, again, congratulations, Dr. Bragan. We all up here look forward to working with you, as well as the community behind you and throughout Edison. Big job, but we know you could do it. So congratulations again. A couple other things. Today I was speaking to a freeholder and an assemblyman on various things that we could work on with the district. I don't want to kind of tell you what it's about yet, but it's items to help transportation, tracking, so forth and so on. So we are working on that, not only with the council on things, but also with the freeholders and the assembly people and state senator. I wanted to bring up because I don't know if everyone knows, I'm an administrator in another district, and we just got our HIB state numbers, and I won't talk about the other district because we're not as high as this district. But out of around 600 school districts, Edison ranked 531st. Now you would say, well, that's terrible. No, that's good, okay? Because we had 1.05% of confirmed bullying and harassment incidents in this district. And that is greatly in part because of our teaching staff and our administrative staff in the buildings to use character education, assemblies, spotting good things in the hallways, and making good things happen in all our 17, 18 schools. So that is a tremendous accomplishment, and I would like to congratulate all the staff, and since a lot of the administrators are here, everyone here, for making our children respectful and treating others like they want to be treated. So thank you. I would like to thank, again, the person for this gift. And if anyone knows who Ashka in 5-3, I guess that's a homeroom, if you could let me know, I'd like to send her a thank you, but you could let me know after the meeting. And then lastly, happy Thanksgiving to everyone and their families, and a healthy holiday season. Thank you.
Any other board members? As you all know, every one of us, okay, Mrs. Warden, sorry.
Okay. I just want to tell people why I voted no,
please.
on
No, please.
policy number 1632.
Okay.
This is a residency policy which states that all new employees shall be residents of Edison Township or agree as condition of precedent to employment that they establish and maintain a residency for at least a year. And the superintendent or his or her designee may request a waiver, and that has to go through the personnel committee in order to allow that person to be hired. Residency shall mean the domicile of the person being appointed. Such domicile shall be within the limits of the Township of Edison. No other domicile shall be acceptable, and residence once established must be maintained. And failure to meet the residency requirements shall be sufficient cause for summary dismissal, subject to the provisions of the current collective bargaining agreements. This applies to all employees except the teaching staff. And I find that this is very limiting. If we want to have nothing less than excellence, we can't supersede it with a policy that says we can only employ people in Edison to achieve excellence. Where the employees live is none of our business. Our business is to educate them. As long as they can get in on time and do the job every day, that's all that's necessary. It is next to impossible to enforce a policy like that. We will have to have not only attendance officers for students, we'll have to have attendance officers for employees. And I find it intrusive in people's lives. I find it arbitrary, and it lacks common sense. And I would hope that people would take a good hard look at this policy. You know, once upon a time, I asked my husband if we could buy a house that I loved in Piscataway Town, and he said, well, okay, we can look at the house, but if we buy it, I'll have to quit my job, because he was a teacher assigned to the Piscataway Town School. So, of course, we didn't look at the house. But then, when we built Edison High School, because the school had a policy that no teacher could live in the district in which the school in which he or she taught. So when they built Edison High School, that meant that we couldn't employ anyone who lived in Edison Township to be employed in the high school. So these rules and regulations are restrictive, and eventually they can't apply to the current situation. So I would encourage everyone to look very hard at the residency policy. It also, it ties the hands of the personnel department in hiring. They can't hire someone who doesn't live in Edison Township or who won't promise to get their bod into Edison Township. It's unrealistic, because every person who employs has a spouse or family or whatever, wherever they choose to live and wherever they can afford to choose to live. And it's none of the Board of Education's business where you live. So please look at that policy 1632 carefully. Also, I want to thank Mr. Patrick Kassan for putting our security plan in place, and it should be up and working by January 1st. So thank you, Mr. Kassan. And I want to thank the students of Lindenau School. This is what they made, and then it holds a candle with crushed candy bar fragrance, and it's just lovely. So thank you, Lindenau School. I appreciate it very much. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
All right, I'd also like to thank the students for making all these things for us. As you can see, every one of us has a piece of pie right in front of us. Okay? It's a piece of pie. And I got this cornucopia from the student from MLK. I don't know who that student is, but this is very detailed. Everything's in here. So really appreciate it, you know, all the students who made this. And also, I just want to wish everyone a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. All right, now we're open for public comments. Yes.
Bill Bronner, 215 Loring Avenue. What procedures do we have in place to avoid what just happened to Livingston Township school system, where they were hacked and ransomware? They've got their everything frozen, and they're demanding a big payment of money to free it up. I know there's at least one school system, and I don't remember the name right now, that has implemented a warning system that the minute they see something start to happen, that all the people that are involved with the computer system can immediately come in and shut it down before the hackers can get into it. Do we have anything like that in place, or what are we planning on?
Mr. Shi?
Yeah, we'll address all your questions, yeah.
Well, that's my only question. I've got a couple of comments to make, but that's a different story.
I did see that same report that you saw on Channel 2 News, I believe it was. They did recommend, and I'm not sure if we're doing this, and I was going to bring this up at our meeting, that you download all your information every day, every night.
That's right.
So if you are hacked, you don't have to pay the ransom. You have everything updated as of the last 3 hours, 4 hours, if whatever that may be. So that's one of the things I was going to ask Mrs. Contaldi, and Dr. Bragan. We'll give him something to do right away, and look into that, because I did see that same report. They had to pay over $100,000 to get all their information back, and you have no other choice but to pay.
And we'd actually have to go and get our older records that are maintained involving
Yes.
the personnel, the kids, and everything else, and get that taken care of right away. I don't think that's something we can dilly-dally on. I think you really better get on it. Who knows, we could be next. I'd like to make a couple of comments on the bond issue, not so much the issue, the bond itself, but the scare tactics that you people have put out to the population. Two things. One, redistricting, which is a bad word. The boards in the past, a lot of the boards have had a chance to do that, and they just won't do it. I don't think you people have the guts to do any redistricting. I can just imagine the hue and cry from those students attending J.P. Stevens that are suddenly going to find out that they have to go to Edison High School. I don't mean to denigrate Edison High School, Mr. Ross, but ranking-wise, it is not up to the J.P. Stevens standards. That'll cause one heck of an uproar. And so, that's something. And secondly, pardon me, the threat of half-day sessions, which is something else that's not going to happen. You people will go, you'll stand on your heads and spit nickels before you do anything of the kind. You will not, because if that happens, you will find so many people selling their houses and nobody wanting to come in and buy them if we go to half-day sessions. So those kind of scare tactics, I think, are uncalled for, actually. I think that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Hi, Lisa Zimniewski, 82 Sharon Drive. I have a question in regards to...
Just speak into the mic. So
Speak to the microphone, please.
Oh, I have a loud mouth anyway. I have an issue. I have an issue in regards to promoting the bond in the schools. Going through New Jersey School Board Association, there are certain things that you're supposed to adhere to when you're promoting a bond, and having that in our schools is not one of them. And I'd like to know who is paying for all of this media that is in Herbert Hoover, J.P. Stevens, Woodbrook, all the schools. Who's paying for it? Because according to New Jersey School Board Association, it's illegal. It's unethical. You should not be doing it. The parents of the school children are not the only voters in this town. There are elderly people, retired people who vote on the bond too. Are they allowed to come into the school and look at this stuff? No, they're not.
Why not?
They have to be buzzed in. They have to be buzzed in. But you have to have a reason to come in.
Let us speak.
You have to have a reason. When I go to Herbert Hoover and I buzz in for my son, I have to give my name, my child's name, and the reason why I'm there. Why is that stuff outside here? Why? It's going against the school board. It is. It's right here on their page. Who's paying for it? Is it our tax dollars?
Any other questions?
No, I want an answer. Is it this?
No, finish up your questions, and we want to give you 6 minutes.
Is it our tax dollars that is paying for this that is illegal according to New Jersey School Board Association, Jerry? Is it?
You want to say that? What we're doing is present the information. We're
To
not.
who, the kids?
We are. Okay. I don't want to go back and forth. So why don't you finish your question? I'll respond.
Who are you presenting it to? The children who come to school every day?
Okay. What else? What else? The other questions?
That's it. That's my question.
That's all your question.
Yeah. Why is it here? Who are you presenting it to? And are parents who have children in the districts the only ones who matter to you when it comes to the vote, especially when it comes to WhatsApp?
Okay. So what we are doing, we're presenting the information, the facts to the people anyone who wants to come to the school district. Okay. All these informations were in the lobby when we had the November election. Okay. So anyone who can come in, they can get it. Right. Today we have it over.
In the lobby.
But let me
I
speak.
voted.
Okay. It was the picture was in every school. You see the diagram.
The screen TVs were? You know what, Jerry?
Okay, excuse me, so we have orderly public comment, and it's important to allow the speaker, which is you, to deliver your full comment without interruption. When you're done, then the board president or any board member may respond without interruption. But let me just finish. So when we go back and forth and interrupt each other, it devolves into an argument, which is not productive use of the time, and we can't hear each other. So our public comment clearly spells out that you're free to give your entire 6 minutes, and then we can respond. Sometimes my board members will jump in, and I remind them that we shouldn't do that, but we're all adults here. But the most productive way to do it is to not interrupt each other so that we can hear you and you can hear us. So are you done? Are you continue? So I've heard all your questions. We're going to respond to all your questions.
As the attorney, is that legal?
Yes, it is legal.
It is? So what I'm reading on New Jersey School Board, okay.
Okay. Next.
Okay. Next comments? Okay.
Go in the back.
Yeah.
No.
Kevin Holloway, 39 Lydia Lane. I too am here to speak about the referendum. I would not have come tonight, but the acting superintendent, your response to my email was quite dismissive. So therefore, I felt the need to come in person. Clearly, residency is the township's.
Did you give your
Board of
name and address, please?
Excuse me?
Did you give your name and address?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Clearly, residency is a big issue for our schools, and that's where your efforts should go to remove the students who do not belong in our schools. I travel Talmadge Road every morning on my way to work, and I'm really surprised that it takes 2 54-passenger buses to pick up all the kids at one bus stop. That's a problem. Secondly, I looked at your operating budget for the 1920 school year. Knowing that you were going to have to go into this school year putting forth a referendum, I'm just surprised that you would hire a director of security at the sum of $134,000. Taking into fact that this person is also collecting a pension, which means that their salary for a given year could be upwards toward $200,000. So I will do everything to get out the word, not to pass this referendum. I think as a Board of Education, you need to look at how you spend our tax dollars a little bit better.
Okay, thank you.
Jerry, can I
Yes,
just comment on that?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that, when we talk about the students that shouldn't be in our school system here, where we have 500 that are investigated each year, and we catch approximately 80. At the end of the day, if we got every one of them, you might have another 80. But when we have like 3,000 students that are unhoused, 80 students isn't going to change the referendum by $15. You're not going to reduce a class size. When you talk about 80 students over 17 schools, you're talking about a couple children. So that's not the problem. It's the 3,000 student number that's really our problem. And we are implementing something, working with the township now, that gives the Board of Education a tool to dissuade people from coming into the district and taking our services. So I think moving forward, that's actually going to help.
Yeah, the rumor of like we have thousands of out of district students in Edison is not right, and we have done several hundred investigations, and we catch 60 to 80, it all depends which year. It's in a grand scheme of things, it's not going to impact the overall population, and plus it's very expensive to to go to court and to go there. So that's why we're working with the township to see if they can come up with an ordinance that allow us to find these students. By law, the district doesn't have the authority to find them. So we're doing whatever we can to remove them. But again, what we're talking is 3,000 students without a seat. We don't have 3,000 out-of-district students in Edison. Okay, Mr. Ross.
Good evening, Charles Ross, 50 Boulevard of the Eagles, president of the EPSA, Edison Principals and Supervisors Association. I just wanted to thank the board and formally welcome Dr. Bragan here as our new superintendent. We loved hearing about your goals, because the goals that you spoke of, having the young people of Edison rise up to their highest potential, those are our goals, and why we come in early and why we stay late, why we work so hard with the other unions in this district that all come together, the ETEA, our custodians, everyone else. We really look forward to working with you, and once an Eagle, always an Eagle. We look forward to seeing you around and everything. Thank you, guys. Welcome.
Actually, today, and at that side of the room, we have all administrators from the district. So if you actually have any questions about out-of-town residents in Edison, you can speak to any one of them. They have the first-hand experience to tell you how many out-of-town students are in our Edison school district. So again, let's just cut it. It's not. It's just a rumor. It's not a fact, right? So anybody else? Okay? Yes. You're closer. You move up.
Joseph Johnson, 407 Durham Avenue. Family, friends, and colleagues. First and foremost, I would like to wish a happy birthday to our Miss Falguni Patel.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to just congratulate our new Edison Township Public Schools Superintendent, Dr. Bragan. Thank you for your commitment and drive to serve our students. Furthermore, I would just like to bring to light a bill that passed in the New Jersey State Assembly today. Bill A4238, which establishes a task force to examine school discipline practices, including racial disparities and effectiveness. This bill also provides recommendations to assist school districts in improving school discipline practices and policies, including ensuring that discipline practices are applied in an equitable and non-discriminatory manner. This bill is a huge step in the right direction, which will potentially limit the discipline differences between minorities and non-minorities. Next, I would also like to thank Ms. Kathy McKean, Athletic Director of J.P. Stevens High School, for acknowledging Mr. Christopher Mia of his wrestling achievements. Mr. Mia was my 3-year varsity captain of my wrestling team and went over to win 100 wins. I appreciate the Board of Education, Ms. McKean, and everyone else who was involved. Lastly, I would just like to remind the board, as I usually do, of year 2 of the Lena Harris Foundation Mentorship Program. Our tentative dates are set for February 8th, 2020 through March 28th, 2020, with our scheduled trip to Monmouth University, March 1st of 2020, and our banquet scheduled for April 4th, 2020 at the Pines Manor in Edison, New Jersey. Thank you all so very much, and I hope you all have a safe, happy, and lovely Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you.
You too, Joe.
If you actually have your friends who wants to be a wrestling coach, I think we still have a position open, right? Okay, all right. I think we still have some assistant wrestling coach or something, yeah. Yeah, please apply. Yes, Anthony.
Anthony Diamond, 15 Rodak Circle. I just wanted to officially congratulate Dr. Bragan. The two most important seats, I think, in our township is the mayor and the superintendent of schools. And I think it is important that the two communicate. There's nothing to lose going forward. I would recommend once a week, maybe twice a month, but I think to have conversations wouldn't hurt anybody, considering what our town is facing. And also to communicate, the ability to communicate and do a better job of that. Last night we hosted a forum for the bond, which I thought was a pretty successful evening. And one of the feedbacks I think the board members got last night was not necessarily the amount of the bond itself, but it was really just about how you guys communicated and rolled out the information to that particular group that was there. So if the bond does not pass, I would suggest take those things that that were concern of theirs and to immediately do a better job of rolling that out. And I think you guys would have a lot more success. But again, I just wanted to congratulate Dr. Bragan. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just want to since you talked about information sessions, we actually have one that's coming up on December 3rd at John Adams at 6 o'clock, another information session. And we'll also try to see if we can schedule another weekend session to accommodate the folks who cannot attend on weekdays. So once the date and location is decided, we're going to announce it. Okay, so there's something that we're looking into it. Yes.
Also, real quick, December 3rd at TJ, we'll have an information session at 7 p.m. at TJ, 7 p.m. on December 3rd.
So we have it in two schools.
What time is it? Information Center for the bond.
John Adams at 6 o'clock. And the same day at TJ is at 7, right? Okay, so, we'll go to any one of it that's more convenient to you. Any other public comments? Yes.
Tony Pasquale, Pine Street. I brought this up to the council, and it needs to be brought up to the Board of Education also. Probably, I guess, was it 2-3 weeks ago at the Woodbrook School when there was a candidates night. I was there, and things were going well. And at one point, I decided to go outside and see if there was anything going on. And walking in were a bunch of teenagers with some documents. And these documents were about a Board of Ed candidate which was gotten illegally. And what happened was I requested these students to give me them, and they did. Then they went into the meeting, okay? What then happened was I then went to Mr. Shi, because he was there, and I said to Mr. Shi, there's a bunch of students here with this illegal document about a current candidate that they're wanting to hand out or put on the cars. And his response to me was, leave me alone. I don't want to deal with this. I'm not dealing with this. During that time, another person went and called the police and the police did show up. I then again went to Mr. Shi and said, Mr. Shi, the police are here now. Do you want to come and deal with this since the principal's not here and there's a situation going on with students that are underage at a school? Again, no, leave me alone. I don't want to deal with this. I'm not dealing with this. So, this situation, number one, as an official in this district and the highest official, you would think that the board president would want to deal with this with the students and the police officer. But obviously, he did not. I don't know why. I personally think there was political reasons why. But to me, the integrity of the board president should be that he wants to get involved in any situation that is going on, especially students involving the police. Because a situation like this, you really want future Board of Education candidates to have to worry about documents that were legally gotten from the past and brought up. This is something to me that, any board member, any school official that sees or is told by a parent that there is something that is not right, especially the police being there and involved, that I would expect that official, that board member to get involved in that. So unfortunately, that did not happen. I did ask Mr. Shi to address that, totally ignored me. To this day, I don't know why. I do have my thinking, but why was Mr. Shi not taking the time to step away like I did to find out what was going on about this? Again, I addressed this out to council. They're well aware of it, so I really feel that it should be addressed here. And the Board of Education members that don't know about it should know about this. This did happen. There were witnesses there that I could bring up anytime because they witnessed it also. So I just wanted to bring that up. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Yes.
Mansi Mathur, 1 Lombardy Street. Firstly, welcome to Mr. Bragan back to Edison Township, and we are glad that we have a superintendent now finally. Secondly, thank you very much, Mrs. Peng, for bringing back our math program for three class level instead of just 2 for 7th and 8th grade. Thirdly, when you watch, it's about the bond. When you watch the video for the bond, it is an emotional video, no doubt about it. And bond, if passes, everything will be done within next 3 to 5 years. My request to the board is that somehow if we can come up with some creative idea, how to manage the lunch time. Because when you see that video, most of the school, and especially a J.P. Stevens School high schooler, said that he has to either throw the food out or reaches the class late. Somehow if we can schedule the bell in a way, like increase 5 minutes in the morning or increase 5 minutes in the afternoon to give them a little bit more time to finish the lunch, at least. It will be really helpful because we cannot wait for the bond to pass and for the construction to get done. Thank you, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Good suggestions. Good suggestions, yeah. So, any other public comments? Yes.
Carol Badowski, 39 Jonathan Drive. I just wanted to kind of back up what Mrs. Ward said earlier about the resolution to limit hiring only employees from Edison who have residences in Edison. I know that personally for many years, I fought against the reverse bias of that when I was told in confidence by many administrators that they were instructed not to hire local residents for teaching positions. I also saw many young products of our excellent schools not being hired, not being given tenure, and facing a rougher time than people from out of town. However, I feel that this resolution kind of makes me feel good, like you do value Edison and you do value the products of the Edison schools, but the products of the Edison schools do not necessarily, when they're beginning their careers, have enough money to live in Edison. So we then are again excluding our best and brightest who choose to come back to our town as teachers from being employed, or teachers or other staff members, from being employed in the district. So although I think it is well-intentioned, I agree with Mrs. Ward that I have a lot of reservations about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other public comments?
Yeah, can I just comment?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that, Carol, you know what it was? I heard all the same things that you've heard. And the only thing that I was looking for in this was to give our students here and our residents here the same opportunity that other towns give to their residents and their students. What we made up, might not be perfect with the whole 1 year type thing. And that can be tweaked. And in there also was something where, if there's certain positions or something like that, the superintendent can just request like a waiver from the personnel committee. Because we didn't want to tie anyone's hands. We wanted to make sure that we were getting people that were really good. So the only thing I'd recommend is maybe whoever the new board president would be, that they put you on that policy committee so that maybe you can take a look at it and tweak it come January. But thank you for your comments.
Mr. Shi?
Yes.
Real quick, I would also like to address Ms. Podolsky too. I'm not sure if everyone's aware, and not that the non-certified employees are not valued. This is only for non-certified. We cannot, by law, and correct me if I'm wrong, do certified. So teachers, administrators, supervisors, so forth and so on, is not involved in this policy. And one of the things I know Mr. Brescher had in the policy to allow the superintendent to request a waiver. So it's not in clad stone, but I just wanted to make sure everyone understood it's non-certified certificate only.
Thank you. Yes.
I just wanted to clarify to Mr. Errico, I think it would be equally important, the best and the brightest are non-certified employees in our district too that come from our schools.
Yes.
So,
Agreed.
if I said that the wrong way, I didn't mean it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Yes. Oh, yes.
I'd just like to respond that what I wanted to see in that policy was that we give preference to Edison residents and graduates of the Edison schools, and then leave it at that. Because we've gone from hiring no one from Edison or who's related to anyone to the opposite. And there has to be a happy medium. And if we stress that we primarily hire Edison residents and graduates of Edison schools first, give first consideration, then move on. No one is limited and it's not restrictive.
Okay, thank you.
Over here.
Yes.
I would just like to piggyback on that, and I took the understanding that I appreciate what Mr. Brescher had to say about allowing it in January to be tweaked, because that was the item that I had in the back of my mind that I'll say yes today and we can tweak it in January when he's gone. Thank you, Mr. Brescher.
Okay. All right. Any other public comments?
Motion to adjourn?
Okay. Have a second?
Second.
Wait, there's somebody
Okay.
with their hand up.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. No, it's all right.
Mansi Mathur, 1 Lombardi Street. Again, it's about the bond and the information that is going out from you guys to the public. I would like to see if you can put up one sheet pager with pros and cons of the bond, not this sheets that is like multiple pages with multiple things on it. if that is possible, and it goes out in a mailer, not in a soft copy, because not everybody goes through Facebook or the website, especially the older people, or even the younger ones who don't have their kids in the school system. They will not see that. Secondly, when you say that we don't have seat for 2,919 students, the focus is that you're doing this only because of the seats. But there is a lot more to that. The failing or the falling infrastructure of the school is also one of the most important part that people are missing. That we don't have seats here in the auditorium, or some student even said that the roof leaks or the roof falls. So these are also the things that the school needs money to upgrade those systems. Thank you.
May I respond? On the request that there be pros and cons, the board cannot take a position advocating in favor of the bond, so they could not put out a pros and cons with respect to the bond.
Yeah, but we do have a lot of information on that abrighter.edison.com website. Everyone can go there. It's it's open to the public. It's not only open to the parents in the school. So anyone in town, they can go to the website. That's why the website was developed for that. Okay. Now.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Second. Okay. Mr. Brescher, all in favor? Aye. Aye. All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.